Well, it's bonus time for my Kreg Australia summer series. Last week's garden bench seat was meant to include these rolling storage crates. However, the video was getting long, so I decided to cut them out into their own little build. And in fact, that gives me the chance to get on Vic's Summer Build 21. Go check out Downunder Woodworks. Later in February, there'll be a whole bunch of videos uploaded under this hashtag about what summer means to you. The milling process for this is pretty much identical as the last one, so I won't go into it too much. This is all 19mm decking, and that is spotted gum, which will make up the pretty faces of these crates. However, I'm going to cheat here to save money and weight by making the sides, which I'm measuring out right there, and the backs out of this 19mm pine. So this worked out really well in the end. I'm glad that I did do it. Marking out the pine is identical to marking out the other components, and we'll chop those down on the drop saw as well. Now, of course, you can just use your circular saw and square cut for this, just like I did on an earlier build, but with the number of bits of material needed for this, there's a huge amount of wood in crates, much more than I'd ever believe. Having a chop saw is definitely a great idea. Measuring the right way helps too. So they're all the back pieces, which are identical to the fronts, of course, and then moving the stop block in to have the side rails. Again, I could just do all of these right up at the front, making this a nice, easy stage of the build. And would you take a look at all the material going into two rolling crates? It's nearly as much as the bloody bench itself. Not too much ripping, but down the bottom, just because of the height that those crates are going to need to be, I did work out I'd require one of the slats to be at half height. So that's what we're doing here, chopping the pine sides, backs, and the front of the spotted gum. Now for the summer build series, you're going to be seeing people making stuff that means summer to them. And summer for wifey and I is breakfast, brunch, sometimes lunch, on the balcony. And we've not really had a very comfortable place to do that. So this bench seat is going to be great for that, and also summer for wifey in particular means gardening season. And these big storage crates are going to be used to store her soil, tools, and a few other bits and pieces, really neaten the place up. So with the wide ones, I use the A and the C hole, but here with the narrow ones, you'll see conveniently, you've got the B and C hole, which gives you a consistent spacing on all of these slats. Pocket hole construction, of course, in this Kreg series, is going to make my life really easy. Ripping those pieces in half, however, has given me a sharp edge. Now, I'm going to use the fence as a guide for rounding over these pieces on my router table. If you don't have a router or a router table, you can just use sandpaper or a hand plane or something along those lines. But as there's quite a few of these to go, the router with a 5mm round over bit in it did make very quick work of those edges. Nice close-up, only subtle, but enough to stop you from getting the sharpness on your hands. I've now got 8 of these boxes to assemble. 6 of them like this with the regular size panels and the 2 with the half size panels. Going to put them together with pocket screws, of course, but there's a few considerations for these ones. The main one being that I have 2 different types of wood, so I have 2 different types of screws. So look out for the C and the F style. When you're using the C, you want to be driving those into the pine. When you're using the F, we're going to be driving those into the spotted gum. If you don't use the F screws, then you are going to F up your project because you're going to split the wood out on the hardwoods. Now I've been lucky enough to pick up these corner clamps recently. They do take a little bit of getting used to, but they're really, really kind to your assembly. And lock it in. Now, you have to check though. Look at this. There's a nice big gap there, but it doesn't matter. Quick squeeze this way, quick squeeze this way. And now our joint is lined up perfectly, and that's super easy to drive your screw in. One clamp, one hand, very nice. And bang, one perfect little 90-degree corner. Once they're all lined up and you're happy, because we are doing the spotted gum, we're going to break out a very long 3mm drill bit, and we're going to pilot hole, be careful not to punch through the face. Switch to the fine thread screws. And there is another box frame down. Now this was a wee bit silly of me. My spotted gum was 86mm wide, while my pine was 90mm wide, and so I had to do a little bit of planing, and I really wish I had a hand plane. That electric was overkill, and then sand everything up nice and neat. That did cause a slight problem for me later on, as we'll see. Now this step is to cut some hand holes for the top slat so that I'll be able to pull them out nice and easily. Measuring the width of my hand, I'd like these exactly middle. So this tip I got from Cole from Gifkin's Jig. Place a stop block at the right hand side on your router table. Slowly plunge your piece into the router bit. A spiral bit would work best, but I've just got a straight bit in here. Go about halfway, flip your board over, and then when you plunge in the second time, you're going to see you have a nice clean entry on both ends, and you're going to get rid of all of that tear out. So you can repeat this several times. I think I did about 5 passes, even though it's quite shallow, just because the spotted gum is so hard, and it left some really, really nice handholds. So thanks for that one, Cole. Go do check out his channel, Gifkin's Jig. They do live streams every Sunday, making beautiful dovetail boxes. Back with the round over bit, just to remove that sharp edge as well, and we have some lovely handles. Time to start working with a dodgy old piece of reclaimed plywood that I needed a straight edge on, so we pulled out the AccuCut to give me that. Quick as you like, I can switch over to the Rip Cut, which basically works as the table saw for me, set it to this size, and have it cut exactly out what I need for the width of these drawer bases. Effectively, they are drawer bases, really. I only need one of this particular cut. I'll get both pieces for both crates out of it. Then, not pictured, we use the AccuCut just to take off that rounded bit off the end. Reset the size on the Rip Cut. And I can quickly knock out the 2 square base panels. Now check this out, no camera trickery here. Straight off the saw. And an absolute perfect snuggy little fit. Oh, I was happy with that. Full disclaimer, the second one didn't quite fit as easily. You get lucky sometimes. That one was beautiful. And here's the second one. Took a wee bit of a plane on the edges to get it squeezing in. Now, that is a thinner piece of stock. It's only 16mm, so I had to reset the jig from the standard 19mm that I had it at, or we would have gone straight through. And again, this is kind of like a way to make drawers. You put your pocket holes all around the edges, tap it into your frame, hopefully with as lovely a fit as this, then drive your screws in. Now don't forget, when you're driving into the spotted gum hardwood, we still need to pre-drill those, or you will crack it out, and that would be terrible. Fortunately, on Aldi Special Buys, I managed to grab myself these $10 set of casters, and they are brilliant and cheap, and they work well enough. That'll take 60 kilos across the 4 of them. Compulsory spin, and we can start the assembly of the actual crate. Here's how I worked out what my spacing was going to be. I dry assembled the crate without any gaps in it, measured it, divided that by 4, and that conveniently worked out to be 12mm. And I had some 12mm MDF, so I cut these little spaces, and I could use those and an offcut of the pine slats in order to space out my holes. Now, I had 8 of these to make, and keeping in mind you don't want to smash into the pocket holes, I wanted to pre-drill all of these rather than doing it during assembly. So again, the long drill bit and some countersinking, and pretty soon I had the support struts nicely pre-drilled, and I could assemble them onto the crate base. Slide down the first layer, grab my 12mm spacers of MDF and chop them up to the correct gap. But remember, I planed off a little bit to one edge. So after I screwed in the back here, I actually had to get about a 2mm extra spacer on the front. Luckily I had some perspex of that thickness line around, then we could just check the level, and no one's going to notice that tiny little angle. If you used slats that were exactly the same width, you wouldn't have this problem. But we adapt and overcome. On goes level 3. And finally the top level with the handle. And it's looking like a crate. Check level, check level, check level, check level, check level, and we're level. Lock it in, Eddie. You just have to keep spinning anything which wheels. It's compulsory on YouTube. Looking schmick and shiny. If you're enjoying these antics and builds, then please do consider subscribing to Fixit Fingers and giving the video a like. I come out every 2 weeks or so with something pretty much along these lines, and a few tool reviews too. I am a fan of aquadeck for anything that goes outside, and as these are going to be sitting on the veranda, it's just great. You can slop it on, and something that I didn't expect, it actually made the pine fit in with the spotted gum a lot better than I thought it was going to. They're very different coloured woods, but the aquadeck blends it all in lovely, and if it ever wears off in a year's time, well, you can just put on some more. Reapplying the wheels. Another compulsory spin, and we've got a pair of sexy looking storage crates, which slide gently and beautifully in here. Little locks, keeps them from rolling away. And what they're for are gardening supplies. That's a 25 litre, well what's left of, bag of compost, and it was quite heavy too. A few tools, hidden away nicely while having an attractive bench seat. That's it for this week. Do go check out last week's video if you want to see how that beautiful bench seat was made, and I will catch you next month in the workshop. Don't forget to look at the hashtag SummerBuilds21 at the end of February, as you'll see a lot of projects coming to light to give you ideas for this summer season. Cheers guys, catch you soon, thanks for watching.